Lemon Squeezy, we are back, guys, with my Namex podcast. I am your host, Cynical AJ. It's been a minute since I've been on, but happy to be back and fun one. We're here to bring you our weekly anime review by covering 3 anime that and we're also doing our questions of the day that we've had. Guys emailed us to those that emailed us, and for those who are interested in emailing us, hit us up at mynemixpodcast@gmail.com. And that's mynemixpodcast. Um, this week we are covering episode 1 of Girl Guro. What's that? Is that Girl Guro?
Mahoujin. Oh, words.
The Magical Circle. There we
Yes,
go.
magical circle.
Magical Circle comedy fun time. I'm guessing that's how it went. Is actually, but it is Girl Guro fucking Magical Circle. We also have episode 2 of Made in Abyss and episode 1 of Princess Principal. Sorry about that. I'm here joined with my co-hosts. We have Emperor Kursan.
Hello, everyone. I'm the newbie.
We also have Polly the Wise Guy.
Consecutive normal punches.
If you're new with us, shame on you, but it's always great to have you around the crib. Do our ratings one of 3 ways. We needs more training if we feel that so, but could use some improvement, not too terrible, and a special beam cannon if we feel, or
Project.
we give it a special beam cannon if we feel that things are pretty much poor dog shit. Anyway, this was a different kind of week for everybody. Just came back after Labor Day and then the layoff from Labor Day, and now we're getting back into this. And I don't know about you guys, but I really wasn't having fun with this week's anime selections that we did. How about you?
I've had fun because Made in Abyss is part of that selection.
Yeah, Made in Abyss is kind of the high point of my life right now. Well, actually, sorry, the Vatican anime is, but Made in Abyss is definitely.
Fuck that shit.
I'm a big fan of it, but Made in Abyss is really good.
I don't know. We'll see how things go with you two guys. So, without any further ado, let's start it off. So, Princess Principal, episode 1. Uh, Emperor Kursan, how'd you feel about this?
So I watched it. This slipped through the cracks. I didn't see any like of this at all. I didn't see a preview for it. I wasn't like hyped for it. Like I didn't know anything. Um, but I actually kind of liked it. I think I might need some more to see of it. I like the main character. I like how she looks, kind of like her deadpan sort of, you know, uncaring attitude towards a lot of things. I liked the OP. Thought the opening song was pretty cool. I'm a big sucker for like settings and like unique settings. So the London World War II steampunky um setting I thought was pretty cool. Um, I as a show when it started, I was kind of like, like I was kind of I wasn't sold on it because I didn't really like the school aspect. Like I was like, oh boy, they like why are they in school? Like that kind of annoys me because it was like such a trope that they're in the school. But um, once it got to that end part and shit started getting real and people were actually dying and stuff, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Um, Kind of thought it pushed the like, I'm a spy. Did you know that I was a spy? Hey, have I mentioned what spies do? Like I thought that was kind of a little pushed a little too much, but otherwise, I think I like it. I think I think it's a needs more training. I need to be sold on it. I need like one more hook to really get me like, sold on it.
All right, so it needs more training for Emperor Kursan. Paulie, how did you feel about this?
Um, So there's things I liked about this episode, but there's things that I didn't like about the episode. I think I really enjoyed the look of the city, the look and feel of the character designs themselves. Like the fact that the chick was wearing a top hat. I don't know why,
Yeah,
but it really works.
yeah. The top hat was she was with her little hairdo and the top hat. She was like she's kind of Bay material. I put her on
She
Baywatch.
was. She is on Baywatch. And like the way that she used her abilities was kind of cool too. But I called the twist of the guy being a bad guy like within like the first few moments of the episode, and then I was sadly disappointed when I was right um, later in the episode. So I mean, but it does kind of I don't know. The thing that it reminds me of is the Joker game, and
Yeah.
but in the female version, and that had high a high ceiling on it for what it could have been for me, but the way it was kind of like played out in an episodic way, it kind of like deteriorated. So while I feel like individual episodes might be enjoyable for what they are, I feel like I can't stand by and commit to that for a long term for a show, a series, a manga, a comic book. It doesn't matter what form of medium it is. I wouldn't be able to do it. Same thing here. If this turns out to be more like an episodic thing, then I'm not going to be on board for it. And while I'm inclined to give it a needs more training, I want to hedge my bets on us actually getting something else in here to watch that would be more worth my time. So I'm going to special beam canon this shit.
And you placed your bet on the right horse, Paulie, because I'm giving this shit a special beam cannon as well. Um, I myself, I found it to be very lackluster. The main character, she wasn't interesting at all to me. The whole premise doesn't even seem cool. Like her powers of floating, it just reminded me of. It just made me like wish for Saga of Tanya the Evil. Like that is the only thing that I got from it. It also made me think of fucking Night Raid 1941. Not sure if anybody has ever watched that. Um, but yeah, as a whole, I didn't really enjoy this series at all. Or I didn't like this episode at all. And also, I didn't like the OP. Like the OP was like, it was like all because you threw in jazz tunes didn't make it like really jazzy to me. Needed
I
to.
just kind of like the I mean I think you guys are right on one thing. Like I mean I'm on the edge of it too. Like there are things I enjoyed about it, but I mean I'm kind of on the edge with you guys where I was just like kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt, but I feel like there might be a little bit more style over substance in this show where it's just kind of, you know, like the setting, like I'm such a fucking whore for a cool setting that I like maybe it's obfuscating the faults of the episode,
But
so
I don't
I
think
can
that
see
it's.
that.
But I don't feel like it was even a cool setting because, like, the whole notion of if it's just like dark dreary town, and or even stylistically, I don't feel like it even fit the mold or that this or the style of the town was even so fucking brand that it even popped off screen to make me care about it like that. Like I was able to look at Gangster, like the anime Gangster when it came out, and I was able to look at how stylistically it fit the tone of the story. It also was able to go ahead and, despite, it fit the characters that it had there. Whereas with this, it was kind of just more like copy and paste characters and a copy and paste setting, and nothing really popped off for me. I think that's
Well,
what
I mean,
I
I
don't.
feel like the setting looked interesting. I just don't feel like I feel like it's been seen before. Like I feel like even as recent as um God, what's the one with the chick uh, the Saga of Tanya the Evil. I feel like the setting back on the military base when she wasn't at war, when she was just back at base talking to the higher ups or whatever. That's what the setting of this kind of reminded me of, and like that colonial look to it, but like somewhere on the cusp of technology was just hitting this boom. So you see the old fashioned style cars and everything like that, but people still kind of wear the old colonial clothing look, and so it's in that regard I can understand where Twan is coming from. But I felt like there was something unique about the way the angles that they shot of this setting. Like when she was at the top of the thing and she jumped down and and used her ability. The way that they portrayed the setting, it did make it look cool. But all in all, I don't think it's nothing we've never seen before. I
Also,
think
I
it's
wish in the first episode they would have explained what the green stuff is that they're using for their the weird powers or whatever it is,
agreed.
because like they didn't really go into it, and I wish they would have, because like it's kind of almost um it's like in Deadlands they have a thing called Ghost Rock, and I felt it was maybe something like that, but like I didn't know if that was what it was, but I wish they would have kind of told us what that was.
Also, shout out to Paula because they did have some strong female characters in this, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
that continues to be a trend going out for the series. But I'm kind of glad I ain't gonna watch it again next week to find out.
Strong, independent spy who don't need no man.
Sounds like a backhanded. I've ever heard one. All right, so moving forward. So goodbye, Princess Principal. Moving forward, we have uh, Guru Magic Circle. I'm automatically giving this a fucking special beam cannon because this was not funny to me at all. Actually, it reminded me of the old 1980s uh anime fucking cartoons that would come on, and I was like I was a little ass kid wondering like what the fuck are they talking about, because I didn't understand their at this is one of those points where I do feel like Paulie, like, yeah, the Japanese humor didn't at all. So I'm giving it a special beam cannon.
Well.
Yeah, man, sometimes you know what I mean, you can play a role sometimes, so only
You made me
sometimes.
proud, son. You made me proud.
Chill with that, dog. So Emperor
The
Kursan.
they gotta fulfill the Japanese prophecy that you are not funny. The island of Japan. You don't try so hard.
All right, so Emperor Kursan, how did you feel about this?
You know, I think I actually suggested this because I stumbled upon it just looking through things, and then actually when I first saw it, I got into like a Wikipedia hole where I was just like, what the fuck is this? And apparently this is like it's a hunter situation where this was a whole show that they had already animated in like the 90s, and they're just redoing it now. With this, and you know it's supposed to take off of like Dragon Warrior and Dragon Quest and stuff like that. I thought the video game stuff was kind of funny. Like I mean, there was a couple of the jokes I kind of thought were pretty good. I liked it overall. Like I'm not saying it's like the end all be all of animes and hilarious, and I was laughing, rolling on the ground. But I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I'd actually give this my Namek. Like I did like this. One thing I did really like is like the first monster thing that they fight. It reminded me of what did it remind me of? The first monster they fought kind of reminded me of like a something out of the 70s Lord of the Rings thing. Like it looked like it just had those like weird like orky piercing eyes and stuff. And I thought that maybe that hit my nostalgia trigger, which is why I kind of liked it. So, but my Namek, I liked it. Not
All right.
not a solid like run out, but I would continue to watch it.
So a monamic from Emperor Kursan. Paulie, how did you feel about this?
So it's odd that the person pointed out that they actually are redoing an older style, because I felt like stylistically they still chose to go with an older style approach with how they represented the animation. Um, the designs still look older and everything. I felt like there was a way to kind of modernize it that would have still been somewhat true to the original, but making it more palatable for a modern audience. Um, but that aside, one thing I will give this episode credit for, and this series, and I don't know if they continue to do it, so person tell me if they do or not, or do or don't. But if they continue to make the video game aspect of it like a little running gag, I think that's actually a cool thing because it gives it a niche that other anime of its ilk don't really kind of like pick up on or at least attempt to try. Like for me, is he mentioned Dragon Quest, but I felt like I was watching a Zelda game um, be played out with a character who was the complete opposite of Link, who just wanted nothing to do with being a hero
Mhm.
and kind of got like
Suckered into it by his
yeah,
parents.
suckered into it. Like I will say that so two things. One, I watched Bakuman the entire series, so all three seasons recently, 75 episodes of that stuff, which it was a easy watch, and I'm still trying to make it through Monster, so uh, go figure that out.
Yeah, you got a problem,
Pacing
dog.
wise, no, I'm just saying pacing wise and storytelling wise, it's much easier to watch than it is for me to watch Monster. That shit is slowly paced. It's horrible. Um,
Yes. You
but
insulted me, dog. Anyway, go
no,
ahead.
just the pace is all I'm saying. I can get with you on any other thing. If you want to say the characters are rich and all that other stuff, I can agree with you on that. It's just the pacing is done bad, and I just want you to acknowledge that at some point.
Ah, son.
At either rate, um, but watching Bakuman, where they actually talk about because in Bakuman, have you guys seen
Yeah,
Bakuman?
the shonen about making a shonen fucking
I
manga.
haven't
Yes.
seen it. You recommended it to me, and
Yes, it's so good. So, like, yeah, basically that's what it is. It's a shonen about two guys who become mangakas and they want to make a shonen. So that's the whole template of the story. But in the process, you get to learn about the inner workings of mangakas and editorial aspect of it. On the editor might say, "Hey, why don't you try making a gag series, or try making a shonen series, or try making a unorthodox series." They give these recommendations or a mystery series, and then the mangakas try to do their best to live up to whatever the editor is suggesting. So the gag thing is something that comes up in Bakuman, and it gave me more appreciation for it because there's like in order for a series to be a good gag series, and this is also why I don't adjust well to Japanese humor from that perspective, is because that's exactly what it is. I haven't enjoyed gag humor, slapstick humor since I was a kid watching Three Stooges, and that's the pinnacle. If you can top the Three Stooges, then you can make me laugh. But the likelihood is that you're not going to be able to top the Three Stooges. So let's stop.
Are you saying
But
Stooges? It sounds like you're saying. Sounds like you're saying
Stooges.
Stooges.
All right, you're a stooge for thinking that. I'm just saying, like, if you can't top the Three Stooges, then you aren't really doing it better, and I don't want to waste my time with it.
you're just a sad shemp. You're a
Yes.
shemp of a stooge.
Nah. I will say
Although I
Three
was a curly
Stooges.
guy,
Nah,
even
Three
though I
Three
admit that
Stooges.
Shemp was funnier.
Three Stooges was actually really fucking hilarious, and I was more of a Mo guy.
Mine was legit though. But like
Hilarious.
I said, I'm a curly guy, but I respect that Shemp was funnier than Curly. I'm not one of those like those people who just like kind of walk off the deep end and be like, "Nah, Curly till I die, bro." But anyway, so I don't really like it, but I do now appreciate it more because what I learned by watching Bakuman is that in order for it to be a good gag series, you first have to have a reasonable story for that you can place all these gags off of. And this story does that really well, probably better than any other show I've ever watched, and of the same type. And like I can see why the things would be funny for certain people. It just wasn't funny for me. Nor do I really kind of have any interest in like continuing to put myself through this too. Because I wasn't enjoying myself, but I did appreciate the episode for what it was trying to do. So that said, I'm gonna special bean cannon this shit. So get it the fuck out of here.
One quick note: they do actually continue the whole video game thing. Like that is apparent. Like that's like a thing in every episode.
Ah,
Of the of the
I can
three I've
appreciate that.
watched, that's kind of a thing where they kind of go over like I'm a mid boss, but then they'll do the video game 8-bit cutscene things, and yeah.
Okay, I really like that part of it, but I just knew that it wasn't going to be enough to keep me going,
Mhm.
and I got to be true to myself.
I feel like I want to find a comedy one that like just touches you in your soul, and you're just like,
Hey,
this
now
is it.
you see? Oh, that's another thing I learned watching Bakuman. You have to know what the end goal is for your main character. So now, Preston, you have found your main goal.
My main
Uh,
goal.
your Luffy become the king of pirates is to find a comedic
A
anime that
comedic
I
anime
like,
for Paul. I'm gonna scour the earth. I'll go the
A comedic anime
yeah
that Paul
fucking
likes.
that Paul
Cromartie
likes.
Cromartie High School, dog. Cromartie High School is the greatest comedy anime of all time, and Prison School. Prison School, I would say Prison School and Cromartie High School are the two best that I've seen. I'm sure there's more.
I'm gonna find something. I'll look.
So,
Did you ever see the whole Inferno Cop madness or like any of that kind of stuff?
I saw like one episode of Inferno Cop, and
Okay.
then I was like, I left that page. uh, I hung that up. All right, so I'm gonna outright say this: I did not like episode 2 of Made in Abyss. Convince me why I should have liked it. Emperor Chris.
Holy cow. That's a lot to like kind of take in here. Jeez. Like um what? Well, okay. First off, I like the whole. Okay, I don't know. I don't know if this is like put over from the first episode, but like I like everything that's going on in this show. Again, I'm like a setting whore, and this just has an awesome setting. Like I feel like this abyss thing, the way everything's drawn, I feel like it has like this Mega Man Legends vibe to it. The art, while Kitty looks just every episode seems to be like Miyazaki baller like animation, like the way it's colored. Um, and I don't know, like I just left that second episode being like, I just wanted more. Like I wanted to know more about the world. I wanted to know more about um Jesus names for the robot. What's his name? I forget now.
Greg.
Reg. Yes. So I was like, is it Ro? No, it's Reg. I don't know. I just left it. The hook. The the implied like all the implied stuff is I want to know more. Like I want to know more about like everything, and that's what kept me going on this. It's the same thing why like I wasn't. It's the opposite of why like on the Classroom of Elite, like the hook, which is the like allowance thing, the money thing, the credits. That didn't hook me. Like this hooked me even on the second episode. I was just ready to go in on it. So at least that's my feelings on it. Just a super hard Namek on it.
All right. I don't think that with the Classroom of the Elite, the whole allowance thing was the necessary of the hook. Um, Rather than that just gives a reasoning for the story. I would say that the hook doesn't come about until start understanding the motivations behind a couple of the main characters and what they want to achieve. But that's just my
Mm-hmm.
Paulie, how did you feel about convince me that about
About Maiden.
Made in the Abyss.
Oh, you said convince you about it?
Yes, convince me about it. I wasn't feeling episode 2. And I barely liked episode 1.
Really? I don't think you have
I
a
was
heart.
just like, it's like, what did you look at the same thing? Did we both look at a
I
naked?
did.
It's
Right.
like I feel like we just
No,
look
no,
at
I
like
did.
I feel like we
I
all
watched it.
I
And
feel like me and Paul looked at like the hottest girl alive, and we're just like,
no, no,
wow,
no.
she's
See,
really
again,
hot.
so my thing is, I don't think that I don't want it to be. I don't think that is bad at all. Like I don't think that is bad, but I do think that there is. I don't think that there is anything that makes it pop to make me feel like this is special.
Yeah, I don't agree with you. I feel like there's a lot about it special. But hold on, first things first. Um, in my last review for the last thing for Guru Guru, I said that they could have modernized the art to make it to stay true to the old thing and still be more palatable. This this series here, Made in the Abyss, has cutesy looking characters, kind of like the Guru, but with a modern look to them. Um, so I just felt like that's something that could have been taken into account. I will say, so the first thing that stands out is the animation. The animation on this series is fucking impeccable. I don't even know where, like the setting. Now we were just talking about settings in our first one for Princess Principal. That setting is horseshit in comparison to this. This setting is like easily it transports you to another place. Like when they go down into that cave, when those creatures are like floating in the air and doing whatever or attacking them and whatever, I feel like I'm there. Um, and like I like how they blend the two worlds of light and darkness, meaning like you see all these cutesy characters, but then like some fucked up shit ends up happening. Like that stuff is pretty epic. So
There's
um,
also some light kind of like weird power level stuff going on with the whistles and shit like that that kind of intrigues me.
yeah, that's the other thing I was gonna mention. So like by episode 2, we started learning about the whistles, correct?
I
Um,
think so, yeah.
and I mean,
full,
Twine,
full
I'm sure you watched it
disclosure,
most.
full disclosure. I watched till
Yeah.
episode 10, so
No,
I'm
Well, I'm
all
on
in
the
on
episode
it.
episode. Yeah, I'm all the way at the end. What?
episode two. I'm just watching it as we go with the show. But
Sure.
episode two, they mention how the whistles function in terms of like your
Yes.
experience and shit like that or whatever. Like
That's another thing. So to me, that's the hook for me. Like it got me intrigued. That was the intriguing aspect because once you, or so the first episode you learn that there are cave raiders, and the second episode you learn that like basically there's a system to the cave raiding. There's not just like all willy nilly like people. It's not the wild wild west down in the caves, dog. It's you gotta know your shit before you get down there and get your dumbass killed. So like the whistle system is kind of intriguing because like if you're a novice, you have to have like a red whistle, and then like later on you'll learn about like the blue whistles, and then there's the white whistle. The white whistle. I think there's also a black whistle, but I
yeah, the
can't.
black whistles for experts, and then from my understanding, there's only one white whistle, and that was her mother.
Well, you find out that there's white there's more than one white whistles, but like she's like the like she's the queen of the white whistles, or so to speak,
Okay.
or like the strongest of the white whistles as it works. But either at either rate, um, like the whistles add another level of things, and it'll pay off more later on. But the whistle being introduced in by this episode is good because it's kind of like where we were just talking about on Prison's Principle, where you're like, man, I really wish they would have explained what the green power was that they had. Like, I feel like explanations of those type of things are better left for second episodes, in my opinion. And the reason I say that is because if you can't get the exposition out without sacrificing intriguing first episode, then do it in the first episode. But if you can do it, keep make your pilot more intriguing for people to watch, and then put the exposition in episode 2, and then put the hook in episode 3. That's my personal thought process on how things should be done. But I felt like in episode 2 here, so like in episode 1, I was hooked because they showed me a Mega Man style character shooting a fucking Buster cannon off of his arm. Like, I that's all I needed. It was my Namek at that point already. And then in episode 2, I'm learning about these whistles and the whistle system and about the cave raiding. And now I'm intrigued because now I want to go down in this cave and raid with them and then see what type of adventures we go on, because they've already created this rich and wonderful setting for me to live within. And I like that like things are already looking like they can get darker. And it kind of took me back to when I watched Madoka Magica, like in the you know like pretty quickly you find out that this what looks like a cutesy world has a lot of shit going on in it. And That's why I think it's important. So I think you'll appreciate it much more by episode 3. I definitely don't think you should stop watching this personally, Antoine. I think you should continue to watch this. As far as our viewers go, our listeners go, you should definitely continue to watch this shit. It is a my fucking Namek.
All right, so we got two dynamics. So regardless of my rating, it has. So from episode 2, I wasn't really feeling it. I agree with Paulie that episode 2 should be your exposition, but I also feel like it was exposition heavy. So in episode 2, we learn about the levels of the caves. So the lower that you go, the more detriment. Then we learn about certain environments that the caves have. Certain caves have fucking trees sprouting, from the fucking sky or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the whistle aspect. Like I feel like throwing those things out in this one episode, it kind of just made it feel like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and establish everything in this one episode, so then we don't have to mention it again.
I
Even
would
with
say that's true though.
even with the whole idea of like who her mother is, of Reg in his anatomy and his powers and how he functions, like this was just the exposition episode. um so I don't feel like there was anything that made me want to watch further other than, well, who is her mother and what kind of person is she. But even then, I feel like there's nothing really left up to the imagination based off of the fact that she's the chosen one. Usually how these stories go, if you're the child of the chosen one, then you're the real chosen one. It's just how it
So
goes.
so
So
far, I'm gonna say this. I'm all the way at, is it episode 11 now or episode 10?
I haven't seen 11, but I think 11's out, but I've seen up to episode 10.
I think I've seen 11. Oh yeah, it is 11. So
Okay.
I'm up to episode 11. There is nothing to indicate that she is a chosen one style character. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by the direction that this series goes in.
well, we'll see. Um, but ultimately, I do not like this episode. Don't I don't feel like it is a so-so episode. I really heavy. Um,
I got a
setting.
question for you though.
What's up?
So, regards to the exposition heavy second episode, um, because I've never considered that to be a deterrent for me. I've always considered that to be like especially when they make the decision, because you can tell they made the decision that we're going to get all the exposition out of the way in this episode, so that we never have to burden the viewer with exposition ever again. We've already given them something to kind of like basically wet their whistle in episode 1, and now in episode 2, some of the stuff will be intriguing. A lot of it will be exposition, but we're just gonna get that out the way now. Do you prefer to be get it out of the way, or do you prefer to be?
I believe learning as you go is fine. I also feel like, and I also do not feel that it should just be stretched out so far. I feel like the best way to explain it is, um, the best way to explain it, I'm not sure, for those who have seen House of Cards. House of Cards does this really intriguing thing where in the first 2 episodes it gives the exposition of the motive of the characters, the motive of the main characters that we have, how the system works, their positions and what they can do. And that's how they're able to get the exposition out the way. But not only they do it not only through dialogue, but they do it action and uh Frank
Well,
Underwood's monologues.
man, Frank Underwood's
But
monologues are the greatest.
I'm looking at that as that's one of the best I've seen in terms of how we're able to introduce the world, establish the rules of the world, and then go forward in the story. Even Hunter x Hunter does it where, and even though I hate narration, I feel like how they did the narration was they explained that this is unlike any world that you'll probably encounter. Okay, fine. then we're gonna go ahead and talk about how how hunters work and what they're able to do. And then over time, it just expanded those roles. That's where, but that's also an adventure kind of quest. With this, if this is like, I don't know how many episodes this is slated to be, but this seems to be far more adventure like rather than it being a
Yeah, that was a big thing with me and Paul, where we were like, this needs to be like 24 plus episodes. Like this needs to be a full thing, because
yeah.
they are setting up or laying the groundwork for like a big adventure. Like when I watched the first like 2 episodes, I just feel like, wow, there's a big adventure coming up, and I kind of got the feeling where I was just like playing
Yeah.
some like PS1 like RPG, where I'm just like, ooh, I can hardly wait to go
But
on this adventure.
that's where my problem becomes, is because the way that the way that the setting and the way that the story seems structured to me as of just 2 episodes, it seems to be this grand adventure that you're having, but you just shot your wad with exposition in the second episode,
Yeah, but
which
see, I think this kind of, but like, there is like, even in this, the like they get to a couple episodes in, and like there's even more like secrets to that are revealed. They meet a white whistle, and it's like she gives more
Right.
secrets, and they go in further and they find things they didn't know were there, and there it does do a reveal. I think it's just setting up like such a big base, and then it does do that where um
They expand on it.
yeah, and they also kind of do the whole, like, I don't know if this, but like they kind of do the whole flashback thing where they will flash back to her mom and things that she does and stuff like that.
One thing I'll need to say about the exposition portion, and then like either that versus learn as you go. But like I think that the one thing is, because of the style of series this is going to be, being that it's like an adventure based one, I think it's best to get the exposition out of the way, because I feel like if we were having a learn as you go, it kind of interrupts the adventure, the journey, and I think it makes more sense in this particular case to like I said, get rid of the exposition, or just do it all at once, get it out the way. The stuff that we learn later on is not as deep or whatever. It's just basically a little further explanation, but it doesn't go into, like, they don't spend that much time discussing it, because now we already understand the basics. Now anything that we learn beyond that is just like a little, okay, now you understand this about it, but like here's like a more refined version of it and condensed too. And I think that's better too, because at this point we should be focusing on more story and less exposition, and more development of these characters. So that's why I agree with that. If this is one of those like style anime where like the it's a mystery or whatever, then I expect to see exposition and learn as you go, because now we need to unpack things as we go, because we're also, the audience is finding out things at the same time the characters are finding out things. In this particular case, it's not going to be the case for the majority of the part. They like Rico is already within her own right pretty knowledgeable about the caves themselves. She's just never gotten to fully experience them because of her limitations of being, a red whistle. So now she gets to kind of go down there and learns more, or she kind of get to put that to, and you see that as you go down, and like Preston can attest to this, because as she's down there, they'll see creatures or whatever that we haven't seen thus far in the series, and she'll be like, "Oh, this is a what," and what's my and like she'll just say the name of it, and then she'll explain
Look,
that.
look, it's a Wizamagoo, and it's here to eat my face off.
Right, like she's already pretty knowledgeable within
okay.
her own right. So at this point, we don't need to like um baby the us as the viewers, because she basically kind of like demonstrates that she was already like somewhat knowledgeable
And I can see
anyway.
that, but again,
But
it's more so just that I'm looking how done. Like I feel like certain information could have been placed in episode one, whereas certain information may have stayed in episode. Then there's information that you probably could go forward with episode. With
well,
Greg.
And I can agree with that.
Yeah,
Also,
and that's all.
quick shout out to Docs Ryan in our the chat room saying that the art style and world design look pretty great.
Yeah, it does, and I don't think that there's and like I speak no ill of how this, especially the sound design. The sound design and music is fucking. They
Yeah,
have
that's another
like
good. Yeah.
like they have like these little things in the background that like matches how everything is going, and it's really really nice. And I can tell that there is a lot of detail that's taken into, but a part of me just I don't know. I don't, like I haven't found the thing that everybody else is looking at, and it also might just be that this annoying as art style that they have to me. I don't like the whole like bulbous face look that's fucking cheek. But but aside from that, I'll give it a special beam canon. Doesn't really matter. We'll watch it next week. So for those who are interested, always make sure. So
So our question of the day that we got in our my Namex podcast Gmail at gmail.com. So if you want to ask us a question like this person did, please go to my at my Namex G. Yeah, I'm
at
saying this shit
my
all right.
Namix podcast at
Thank you.
gmail.com.
Thank
That
you.
again, that is my Namix podcast at gmail.com.
So our question comes from Genesis Colburn, and he asks the question: why do you think the shonen formula has dominated so much of anime when other styles have proven to be better quality?
Who wants to start off first?
I think the simple thing that comes to my mind for that is I think it's the same reason why I watch um, Dragon Ball Super is like I compare Dragon Ball Super like when I'm always like I know I'm on the forums and whatnot being like yeah Dragon Ball Super is the fucking truth and like and while it's not Shakespeare and I'll admit to that I think the thing is just it's the same appeal that I have when I watch like wrestling. It's just this weekly like continued story kind of thing with action involved and maybe there is some like guy fight club aspect that appeals to like my inner soul but I think it's just a way it's a strange way to tell like a long form kind of story even if it's not perfect. I think it does keep you just invested over hundreds of episodes just by how it's told. And that's kind of the same way pro wrestling is. I mean, really, if you've watched Raw, it's like, I've been watching it for what, 10 years fucking straight. What other show do I watch for 10 years straight and just be like, oh, yep, this is just what's going on? Like, I think that's what lends itself to, like, just being such a, it's both good and bad because you can tell like this big long story, but then it's also bad because you know not everything's gonna be an out of the park. Sometimes you're just gonna have a filler episode. It's just just the nature of the beast. But that's kind of my thing. It's just like I kind of kin it to like pro wrestling or something like that.
I also think that it plays up into how how we want things. We want things to be so grandiose. Like
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z, like Dragon Ball Z is far more popular than Dragon Ball, despite how many people that Dragon Ball is a better story.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Ball Z has fucking energy attacks, planets blowing up, fucking people fucking exploding. It's like, it
And
has
Z goes out into like the galaxy. The scope of it is just
yeah.
huge.
Like the same thing how people like, with Naruto. The things that people like about Naruto are far less about the storytelling aspect of Naruto rather than, oh shit, this dude was able to cleave mountains in half. Like it becomes this big thing of how we've been doing it for all this time. Can this person beat this person? That's how people look at it all the time. Even with Hunter x Hunter, the big moments that people always talk about in Hunter x Hunter are not, the York New City arc or even the Hunter exam arc. It is usually how Gong basically, went balls to the walls. I don't give a fuck about my life and I'm going to destroy everything for the sake of my friend. Like people love that kind of appeal rather than storytelling aspect.
It's a modern epic. It's a modern
Yeah,
odyssey. It's
yeah.
told just in a way that it's just gives you that epic feel.
And I do think that that's where the hook becomes, and I think that's where the popularity becomes. That's why people fucking love Feng Xing Ji the way that it is. Um,
So good.
it you know what? I had to come to terms with Feng Xing Ji that uh if you haven't read Feng Xing Ji, please do. It's actually really entertaining. But I've realized that in terms of storytelling, it's not the best way of storytelling. It's just that the art is so fucking amazing. And it's like, and that's just what it is. It's like it's coupled with great artwork and along with superpowers, and everybody's able to go ahead and feed into. So for the most part, I think that that's what it is. And also, like your targeted audience is literally 13 to fucking 20. Like you'll never miss. You'll basically you'll never miss
Once
at
you got them
all.
hooked as a kid, they're in there for life too.
That's basically how it works.
I feel
And
it's like the Nintendo strategy where someone's like some people would be like, oh, why they keep making these fucking kiddie games? But then it's like then they put out like another Pokemon and all the college kids are like, oh, my nostalgia, I need this. So they keep hooking these young people. I think Star Wars. I think when Disney bought Star Wars, I think Star Wars had a good idea when they came out with all those Clone Wars cartoons and shit like that. That got the young people indoctrinated into that world. So then when they grew up, they were already pre-built into the whole series. So I think there is something to that too.
same thing with like Teen Titans and all that.
Hmm.
I think you have a point, dude. I really do.
Yeah, yo, so I think that we y'all dressing it up, but let's just call it what it is. Like people are just action junkies, and and that's what it really. Cause like everything y'all saying, like the wrestling, like Dragon Ball Z, any of these series, Hunter x Hunter, like people are just junkies for action. Like a good example is when we told Gerald to watch Hunter x Hunter, he went on like a little tirade afterwards saying that Hunter x Hunter is not a good shonen because really it breaks all the conventional rules of a shonen, and so to that extent he is actually kind of right. But it's a good unorthodox shonen is what it is, and that's why it's so beloved because people were so used to just turning their brains off and sitting in front of a tube and watching, characters power up for 3 episodes and then, like finally winning the fight in one blow like Bleach, and um, and and then they finally got hit with something that was just like, oh, we're gonna do that, but psych, uh, we're actually not. And because like when you think about Hunter x Hunter, when you kind of like reduce it down to the fights that it had, there's really actually not that many fights that happen in Hunter x Hunter. So it's not
Hmm.
like it's not really like the conventional shonen. It takes on all the shonen tropes and it breaks them at every possible turn. And that was one thing that I kept telling people. Like, man, everything that a shonen does, this does it, and then stops right before it gets right to the edge. And is like, nope, I'm going in the opposite direction.
See, I
Like
think
Tagashi
you know
is
what I
such a
think that is
good.
a truth about a lot of shonens is that it isn't a and this is true in pro wrestling too. It's not about the fight. The fight is really irrelevant. It's what it's the build up to it.
Build to
It's
the fight.
it's the build up to it. It's the you know like you can have a fight come down to just one punch or something, and
Arcade 97, dog.
yeah,
The build to that is
yeah,
so amazing.
yeah, the build to it.
or or the
It's
or
not a
the most recent one is Brock versus um what's his name who
John Cena.
Goldberg.
yeah.
No, when the one
Brock versus Goldberg. Brock. Yeah,
where it
yeah.
ended in just like a jackhammer and
Yeah.
like two spears and a jackhammer.
Right. But like I think that's the thing is it's not, you know, because there's other like there's been animes where it's just been like a total blood gore fest, and it's not um you know, and it's like it's not like, and it's just been action wall to wall, and it just hasn't been good because it's not, there's no, there's nothing put behind it, like um there's no like there's no meaning behind it. Like there has to be some sort of meaning behind everything. There has to be a build up to it. Sometimes I feel like in Dragon Ball Super they kind of like, okay, you know where I kind of ran into this was when I was, you know, watching all of the You Say Run videos, which, you know, is like an, you know, an obsession of mine now. Um, they redo the Cell, the ending fight between Gohan and Cell, and it's really epic. If you go look it up on YouTube, the You Say Run Cell versus Gohan. But one criticism that a lot of people have is that I felt like this thing condensed that whole ending sequence into like, you know, 2 minutes, and I was fulfilled by it. But a lot of people were like, you know what, this just didn't have the build. This waited. This, you know, this took too this was too short. And like,
Yeah.
you know, and I know where some people would criticize DBZ and other things where they're like, what is this, fucking 20 episodes of the planet exploding? But like, I remember back in the day, I was like, the 20 episodes of the planet exploding, I was just like, oh god, what's gonna happen? You know, and if they kind of edit that down, it kind of takes away that suspense that, like, I know it's probably like artificially made, but there is still that suspense as to what the fuck is gonna happen. How is this gonna end? Like all this posturing. That's that's why those are appealing. Like I don't know how it appeals to people. Like I don't know if it's just some
But also,
primal something, but like I think that is
I also
like
think that is a notion of the weak.
mhm,
So we're in a different age now. Like we're in like since we have so much accessibility, um, we are able to we're able to like binge watch certain things or binge read certain things that we couldn't do before. Like, you know, for all intents and purposes, if you wanted to read a manga, you had to wait to buy a manga magazine each. I can now go on the internet and wait till a manga finishes or gets to a certain amount of episodes and read all of it in the span of 20 minutes and be fucking okay. And the same thing with how you watch things. So I feel like that's also the other hook is that people are still doing week to week consumption. So how things are like fucking made up, they're usually done so you can watch for another week. So you watch for another week and it just continues on until you're fucking 20 episodes and you realize that a planet took 5 minutes to blow up
mhm.
when 20 episodes to blow. So it, you know, I think that that's where difference becomes like our perspective is different of how we look at a story. That's why it makes far more uh far more popular and also far more consumable for a lot of people, whether than rather than just binging because you binge a lot of things, you start realizing that a lot of these fucking stories are terrible, dog.
Yeah,
Serious.
so it's funny that you bring the like the you say run thing because I feel like My Hero Academia is really kind of like destroying a lot of what we kind of hold true in genre, and not because it's not doing it in the way that Tagashi did with Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter intentionally said, "I'm going to basically do a psychoanalysis of the shonen genre," but My Hero Academia is basically choosing to take all the mistakes that were learned through poor shonen, um, and say, no, I'm going to actually replace those poor things with good writing, and it's just doing a shonen at like the top level, at the highest caliber that I've seen ever. Um, and I'm like really impressed with this right now. I would be so bummed out if this ends in a way that really kind of sours things for me. Like if this had um, a Bleach esque ending or a Shinobi Alliance arc, with plagued with inconsistencies, things like that. Like so, like I'm one of those people who felt like Naruto's ending was actually not whack. I think it was a decent ending. I just think that people were so soured by the final arc, having so many complications and inconsistencies, that it didn't matter how it ended at that point. Like the ending was never going to be good enough because of the way they dealt with Madara, the way they dealt with Obito, uh, uh, the introduction of Kaguya. Like, there's just some things that people just won't be able to get over, and because of that, it doesn't matter that we had like the symbolic ending that we got between Sasuke and Naruto. That's not satisfactory for a lot of people, but it was satisfactory for me. So I like that, and I liked how it ended. But I feel like if My Hero Academia goes in the trajectory that it's going right now, and it somehow ends in that direction, I would be super bummed because like what I'm watching and what I'm reading in the manga is such a well done thing, and I feel like this guy really has studied the craft of shonen and just said, I'm going to learn from all their mistakes and I'm going to just avoid them and not make those mistakes, and he's doing an excellent job at it too. So I'm really impressed. But I I feel like it still holds true that kind of like put a nice little bow on Genesis's question. I feel like people are action junkies, and I feel like we like to see things that are going to entertain us. And action, nothing does that more than than action. Um,
Very true.
and like at the end of the day, people just want something that they can like. They've had a long day at work or a long day of doing whatever in their livelihood for their families and providing. And you get home, you don't, or if you, even if you're a student, you've had a long day at school studying and doing homework or whatever,
It's a great escape.
or yeah, you need an escape, and wrestling is a perfect escape. Anime is a perfect escape. When you can watch something that just like they're moving at 1,000 miles a minute and they're just like fighting each other and just doing all this little cool shit, of course you're gonna watch that. Um, like, who wants to sit down after a long day and just watch something that's like super complex?
I do
Nobody's.
actually.
Yeah, I know you do. You go watch some more Monster, you
I
motherfucker.
will. I actually plan on rewatching it.
But I think when people are like kind of like relaxing on the weekends, which is why notice how Game of Thrones comes on Sunday, Walking Dead comes on Sunday. Like they know that if they came on during the Monday through Friday time zone, they would catch people at their most exhausted and worn out, and not in the mood to watch this shows. Uh, type stuff. And they say, nope, we're going to avoid that. We're going to put it on Sunday, the day where people are most lax and more open to thought provoking content. And that is perfectly positioned for that. So I don't know. I don't think people kind of like note and take that well. Because if they did, I feel like a lot more people would be acknowledging those things. So that is my thought process on it.
Thank you for your question, Jen. Hopefully we get more questions from you guys. Again, hit us up at mynamicspodcast at gmail.com if you have any interesting questions for us. Again, that is mynamicspodcast at Polly.
So, as always, we appreciate you guys for stopping by and taking your time out to check out our show. If you'd like to stalk us or harass us on the internet or just ask us more questions, you can reach us at mynamicspodcast at gmail.com, or you can go to Twitter and find us at mynamics um, podcast. You can also go to Anime Amino, and we are at mynamics podcast there as well. And we are also on um, Tumblr at Prep Time Productions. Um, I think we're gonna be starting up a MyNemix Tumblr pretty soon because I'm trying to convert everything over to MyNemix. In addition, if you want to show the show some support in a monetary way, we would appreciate any contributions you guys make by going to tpublic.com/user/prep time shop and pick up a MyNemix t-shirt. You get a cool t-shirt or uh, other paraphernalia that is MyNemix related, and it goes a long way to helping us keep the show going. So we appreciate that, guys. And as always, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Later. Bye.
Bye,
Game of Thrones is
everyone.
overrated.